Okay, so back for the tail. Instead of adding an edge to this leg, what I'm focusing on is adding a shadow to the tail. So I made sure and defined it with that line, and now I'm just going into those strokes we were doing in the mane. Just keeping in mind where the hair is flowing, where it's going to go, where it came from. I would also recommend that, you guys. Studying hair is really important. Hair has a lot of different highlights and lowlights. It's not just a bunch of strands. It's a little bit harder to portray in watercolor. When you're sketching and stuff, you can portray it a little bit better, but it's still good to have a general knowledge of how hair lays, how it all interacts with each other, just so you don't end up with big blobs for your hair. So to make this area darker, I'm going over it again with just shorter strokes so I can make that dark band he has right there. See how that just blends in super nice. Gorgeous. He has a tail, you guys. Just blend this in a little bit more. So now I'm going to define his back end from the tail. So I'm going to go right around here and just line that. You can leave this to when you're finished with your landscape, or you can do it right now. It's all up to where you're at, what you're doing. And I'm just kind of taking it as it goes. I'm kind of trying to decide what looks good, hard versus soft edge. But keep in mind, I'm not outlining the whole thing in the same medium. I want to keep to the whole multimedia. I want to keep to using as much as I can that's on my desk to portray what I'm painting. Okay, you guys, so let's start on some of these trees. So I told you earlier when you're drawing out your trees, not to worry about too much detail, because I'm going to teach you a really easy way to paint pine trees with just your watercolor. So I'm going to go back to my reference here. And I'm going to grab a really dark color. Trees aren't something I really like to layer a lot, just because it can look really messy, because you want to keep adding stuff to fill in blank space when really the blank space is supposed to be there. So I normally keep it 1 to 2 layers for trees, just so I can keep myself in line so I don't mess up my painting. So I'm going to do the first layer in this little dark green that we used before for that grass, but I'm going to make sure it's very pigmented. Hardly any water. I'm just wetting it down to activate the paint, and that's basically it. So I'm going to start with this tree over here. Now when you draw a tree, it's normally straight down, just dabbing. And I'm just going by those little pencil lines that I had made before. And a lot of people want to draw trees down in a triangle like you see on everything for Christmas or cartoons or anything like that. But if you really look at pine trees, a lot of their branches are going up like this. So you want to just keep dabbing. It'll give you that perfect shape of where the pines are. And just get wider as you get towards the bottom. Maybe add a little bit of a point if you go out too wide. This is why I was saying it's not very important to draw super detailed trees, because a lot of times you'll lay your watercolor down and decide, it's going to be a little bigger than I anticipated. But that's okay, because you didn't spend all that time perfectly drawing out these sketches. And I'm just going to end his stomach with the green. Carry it on to the next tree. I'm just being really light, just barely dabbing it on my paper, making sure they connect at the bottom just to give it a little more like they're in a forest versus a garden. You see how the shape of those trees comes out really well? So this is the first layer, so I'm going to continue on with the tree line over here. There's a few sparse trees, and these ones won't be as detailed. They're normally just straight lines with just a little bit of an edge on the end. And these are gonna go through here. And you can see it's not matching up perfectly with the reference, and that's actually kind of the goal. You don't want it to be perfectly what the picture is. It makes it more interesting when you kind of pick what looks best inside the animal versus just perfectly superimposing an image underneath. So I'm gonna go up here with this tree. It's a big one right here. Sometimes I'll start out with a straight line